Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at 6 essential steps that you need to be able to build a dragon. But this is not going to be a block-by-block tutorial. Instead, we're going to be covering the general principles that you need to be able to design and build your own dragon. Are you ready to build a dragon? Let's do it. Starting with step number 1, the shape. The first step in creating the dragon is to get a rough idea about the shape that you're going to be using for the body, the legs, the wings, and the tail. And the easiest way to do that is to create a bunch of lines that are going to stand in for what those individual parts will be. When creating the shape, there are a couple of general rules that you'll want to follow for the proportions. The first is that you want to have a relatively long tail, like what we've got here. And then for the wings, you want those to be longer than the body when they're fully stretched out. The other thing that you're going to notice is that I have the legs connecting up with this central line, but when we go to put in the body, these are going to probably need to be moved out because the body is going to be significantly wider than just this one block. And if we keep the legs here, they're going to end up looking rather short and stumpy, which we don't want. If you have the dragon in motion, you're going to have one side where the front leg is coming back, but the back leg is coming forward. And then on the other side, you're going to do the reverse. So the front leg is going forward while the back leg is going backwards. You can also go about creating these lines in a couple of different ways. If you have Axiom, you can use the modeling tool to be able to create a line with different points that you can manipulate to create the curves that you want. If you don't have mods, then you're going to have to place the blocks by hand, which may take a little bit longer, but will work just as well. This stage of the process is essentially a rough draft. So if you don't get it done perfectly the first time, that's okay. You can make adjustments as you go through the next couple of steps. So let's move on to step number 2, the basic shapes. If the last stage was the rough draft, this stage is the ugly draft. Taking a look at what we have here, it's hard to believe that this will actually be a dragon or that anything good could come out of it because everything just looks out of proportion. But that's okay because what we are trying to focus on here are a couple of key characteristics of the dragon's body and head. The body of the dragon is essentially made up of 2 ovals. The oval at the front is going to be larger, and the oval at the back will be a little bit smaller. You're going to put those at 2 angles so that they end up with an arch at the bottom, and that will give you the dragon's body. For the shoulders, once again, you're going to want to think about it in shapes. So there is going to be an oval shape in the center of the top, and then there will be 2 ovals on either side, which will form up those muscles when combined together. The head of the dragon is essentially composed of 3 shapes. You've got the circle, which forms the head. You've got a flattened oval, which forms the lower jaw. And then you have a larger oval, which will make up the top of the mouth. For the wings, you're going to want those to look sort of like bat wings, which are going to have a bone structure at the front, and then these finger-like structures that stretch back that support the leathery parts in the middle. The last change that's been made here is that for the tail, instead of having it come just straight down, we've added in this little curve at the end to make it just a little bit more interesting. But what's the best way to create those shapes? Well, again, if you have Axiom, it's fairly easy as you can go in and select the shape that you want to create, you can adjust it, you can rotate it, and then you can place it, and you'll end up with this shape relatively easily. But if you don't have Axiom, there are some other ways that you can do that. The first step is to get a sphere generator, like the one that's linked in the description, and then you can use that generator to guide you as you create the sphere by placing the blocks manually, or you can use the fill command to create a solid cube of blocks that you can then carve into a sphere. And the fill command is a great way to get a bunch of blocks placed if you don't have mods to help you while you're building. But now that we've placed the basic shapes, it's time to start with step number 3, the muscle. With these additions, we're really starting to see the shape come together for this dragon, and there's a lot that we have to talk about here. Let's start with the legs. When you're designing the legs, you're going to want to make sure that the top part is going to be a pretty thick muscle, because this muscle is really important. It's powering a giant creature, so you can't have little spindly legs here. Otherwise, the proportions are going to be all thrown off. So you're going to notice that for this, we've got a little bit of an oval shape here, but it's going to be somewhat flat from this profile side, and then it's going to come down into the ankle here and then where the foot is. And when you're going through adding in these legs, you're going to want to take them in stages. So as you add in blocks, you're going to want to come back and take a look at how it just feels overall. There may be parts where it's going to look better if you just break some blocks. So just break the blocks, then come back and take a look. And you can see already that this shoulder looks a lot better since we removed those 2 blocks up there. And And you're just going to do that over and over until you get to a shape that you like. But while you're shaping it, you want to keep in mind that there is a joint here. So this is the joint at which the front leg is going to swing back and forth in this direction. But down here, this is the elbow. So you're going to want to have the angle come down until you get to this point, but then you're going to start angling it forward, and you want to think of this as where the bottom portion of the leg is going to swing up and swing back in this motion. And by thinking about how the leg will move, if this was a real animal, that will help you to be able to proportion the leg correctly. Now with the wings, you're going to notice that we increase the width of the portion that connects up with the body here. So we've got these muscles, which we had shown in the previous version, and now it extends out up the wing so that this portion right here is a little bit thicker because there'd be some muscles and tendons coming out here, which would help the wing to expand and to flap if the dragon was flying. When you're going through adding in the different parts of the body, you want to make sure that they flow together because this is supposed to be a living, breathing, organic creature, not some robot. So if we take a look at this neck here, one thing that we're going to want to do is add in some blocks just to help make this connect up a little bit better and look a little bit more natural and organic. So if you're wondering, how are you going to be able to add in all of these blocks? Do you have to place them in manually? Well, if you don't have any mods, you may end up having to place them manually, but as we looked at before, the fill command can definitely help you get a lot of blocks placed. And to take a look at how you might do that, let's say this is the neck before we've added in the muscle. What you could do is you could come down and you place one block out here, let's say about 5 blocks out on this side. And then you come up here and you put down another set of blocks right here. You're going to fill in the space between these 2 blocks, just like that. Then we're going to move back up to here. We're going to repeat that action until we get a nice chunk of blocks here. Then it's a matter of going back through and you start to shape it once again. So you're going to just take out the blocks that you don't need until you get something that's a little bit more rounded and more natural looking for the dragon's neck. And this is how I used to do a lot of my builds before I started using mods like Axiom or World Edit, and I found it a lot easier if I had a mass of blocks that I could then start whittling away at rather than having to go through and place a bunch of blocks in an empty space. But as you go through taking away some blocks, adding in some blocks, eventually what you're going to end up with is a nice rounded shape that you're going to be able to use. Is it easier than using a mod? Probably not. But is it easier than doing it by hand? Yes, it is. While this is starting to look like a dragon, there's still a lot of work that we need to do, which takes us to our 4th step, the details. So we've got a couple of additions here that are pretty noticeable. The first is that we've gone through and filled in the wings. The second is that we've added in these horns that start up here at the head. They go along the back and all the way down to where the tail starts. But I've also gone in and started adding in some more blocks for the feet. I've also gone through and refined the design a bit. So I've taken away a few blocks that didn't fit. I've added in some more blocks that were missing. We probably will want to go through and take out some of these blocks along this edge here just to smooth it up a little bit. Obviously, the addition of the wings makes this a dragon, but I also think that the horns and the spikes down the back go a long ways towards making this more dragonish rather than dinosaurish. When it comes to filling in the wings, there's a couple of design things that you'll want to keep in mind. At the back, you're going to have semicircles in between the support bones, and that's going to need to be repeated between each one, as well as coming back to the body of the dragon. Filling in the space between the 2 bone structures here, though, will make for a little bit of an interesting project because they're going to be at different levels. They're also going to be at different widths. But once you fill in the space, then you can go through and start refining it and taking out blocks that don't look like they are in the correct spot, which can help you get a more smooth result. When placing in the spikes along the back, you're going to want to start off with smaller spikes up here at the top. They're going to get bigger as you go down. And once you get to the middle of the back, then they can stay roughly the same size, but as you get into the tail, you're going to want to start making them smaller again. One thing that you could do, which I didn't do, is add spikes to the end of the tail, and if you did that, you would want to make this just a little bit more substantial, but I decided I wanted to have it just taper off into just a small tail at the end here, so the spikes end about halfway down. The details that are being added in at this stage are going to be large scale details. So we've got the horns, we've got the wings, we've got the feet, but you're not going to want to add in the small details until we get started with adding in the color. So let's move on to step number 5. Color. When picking out the colors, there are a lot of different options that you can go with. You could pick something that's super colorful, or you could go with a more muted color like white or gray or black. When it comes to picking out colors for a dragon, you are limited only by your imagination. But as you can see here, in addition to adding in the colors, I've also added in some details, especially up here with the face. So we've got some teeth. I also added in a little bit of a chin thing here. We've got the eyes up here. We've got the nostrils out front. But adding in a few simple details helps to add a lot of character to this dragon. Let's take a look at the teeth. Now you're going to notice right away that we are using dripstone for this, and if we look at how many teeth there are a lot less than there would be in a dragon of this size. But we're somewhat limited by what's available here in Minecraft, so we've got to work with what we got. And even though there are not a lot of teeth, it really sells the fact that this is a dragon and that those teeth are dangerous. For the eyes on the dragon, you're going to want to make sure that you include a prominent ridge above the eyes, sort of like the eyes on a bird of prey, like a hawk or an eagle, and that's really going to help to make the dragon appear intimidating. For this dragon, I went with a black color, but you'll notice that it's not all the same block. So down here in the body, it's a lot darker black. Up here, we've got more of the dark gray from the cobbled deep slate. And there's a couple reasons to do that. The first is that it's just going to make it a little bit more visually interesting if it's not all the same block, but it's also going to be a little bit more realistic because if you had a creature of this size, it's not going to be all the same color. There's going to be some variation depending on what part of the body the color is at. But I didn't want it to all be black or dark gray, so I've added in some blues here. We've got this blue line, which runs along the body here and all the way down into the tail, which I think adds just a nice little bit of highlight to it. And then we put the blue in with the wings as well. So if we come up here, you can see we've got some blue in the center, and then it's a little bit of a gradient out to the black on the edge. For the size of the feet, trying to get some claws is a bit of a challenge, but I think the addition of the fence gates and these walls in the middle helps to make the claws sort of look like claws from a distance for the size that we're working with. But once you get down the basics of your design, the next thing to figure out is how can you pose it to make it more dramatic, which takes us to step number 6, the next level. While I'm really happy with how this dragon turned out, the posture of this dragon is a little bit static. Is it walking? Is it just standing here? Is it getting ready to take off? It doesn't really evoke a lot of emotion. But what if we changed up a few things? We've made 3 changes here. We've switched up the wings, we've switched up the head, and we've added in this burst of blue flame. And suddenly, there's a lot more happening here. Is the dragon angry? Is the dragon giving a warning? By changing up the posture of the dragon, we have created something that is quite a bit more dramatic than what we had before. And if we're down at ground level, we can really get a sense of the scale for this dragon. But could you imagine having a creature of this size appearing in front of you and they would be angry? I don't know about you, but I'd be terrified. So to recap, we've covered the 6 essential steps for how to build a dragon. But those steps could also apply for building just about any organic. Will it be easy? No. Will it take lots of practice? Yes. Will it be worth it? I mean, I definitely think it's worth it. I now have this dragon, which I will be able to use to build lots more. While going through the process of building it, there were definitely a few parts where I was a bit confused, a little bit frustrated, not sure whether I was going to end up with something that was actually worth showing. But in the end, I'm happy with where I was able to get to. If you'd like to take a closer look at this dragon, I will be uploading schematics to my Discord, so if you want to download them, follow the link in the description, join the Discord, and you'll be able to access them along with a bunch of other schematics for builds that I've done. And the best part will be, there's no charge for it. But I think that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And until next time, see you later.